Learmonth Dalrymple, the Scottish spinster who was the power behind the throne in establishing secondary and tertiary women's education in Otago. Learmonth Dalrymple was born here in Cooper Angus in 1827. Her father William was a prosperous merchant in this bustling little town, and she no doubt enjoyed a pretty comfortable childhood at her home here in Commercial Street. She and her sister were educated privately in Edinburgh and then here at Madras College in St Andrews. They also travelled extensively around Britain and Europe and learned to speak French fluently. But against these significant educational achievements must be set Learmonth's own later statements of regret about the inadequacy of her schooling and her desire for what she called mental culture. This particularly related to mathematics, a subject that did not generally figure in higher education for girls at this time. It's not known what prompted William to emigrate to New Zealand with Leah and 3 of his younger children in 1853. They sailed from London for Wellington on the Raja, the same ship that brought John McGlashan and his family to Dunedin at the same time. But William paid for an intermediate cabin on the ship rather than a first class one, so perhaps his fortunes in Scotland had taken a dip. It was a long and difficult voyage in any case, with the ship suffering heavy damage from a storm en route and the Dalrymples being delayed in Dunedin for 2 months while the ship was repaired. When they eventually reached Wellington, they quickly decided to return instead to Otago. William bought a large farm near Goodwood, but he only stayed there for 2 years. He then moved here to South Otago, roughing it on the land as a shepherd while he developed his flock, despite being in his 50s. Here, in the back blocks between Clinton and Matoda, William developed his farm on the Isla Run. Learmonth kept house for the family and also helped develop the first Sunday school in the district. It was here that she made friends with their neighbour, Major John Larkins Cheese Richardson, a vital relationship for her years of lobbying to come. Major Richardson would subsequently become the provincial superintendent and one of the most important politicians in Otago. Inspired by the establishment of a secondary school for boys in Dunedin in 1863, Learmonth made it her life's mission to secure the same opportunity for Otago girls. In 1864, she began campaigning for a girls' high school in Dunedin, probably from a base at her father's house somewhere here in Magnetic Street, Port Chalmers. She provided the brains and the organisation behind the scenes, while Major Richardson did all the talking in public. After 7 years of tireless lobbying and writing over 700 pamphlets and letters, Dalrymple saw Otago Girls High School open in 1871. That same year, she led a successful campaign to persuade the new University of Otago to admit women as students. It was the first university in Australasia to do so. In 1881, she and her father moved to Fielding, where she remained after his death the following year. She took a leading role in the Women's Christian Temperance Union there and headed the Fielding branch in the suffrage campaign. Her last years were spent back in Port Chalmers, where she died in 1906. Learmonth could be considered the godmother of education in Otago.